Hey, how you doing? James Ellis here. Welcome to another edition of The Next Step, the podcast videocast in which we help employer branders, recruiters, talent acquisition leaders take that next step and embrace AI. Not the big expensive tool packages, just the simple ones that you can get for $20 a month right off the shelf. Really simple stuff. So as a reminder, I am not subsidized by any of these companies that I talk about. Last week, I talked about how I decided I wasn't using Claude as much. So I said, well, if I take that $20 away from Claude, could I put it someplace else that might be interesting? And Perplexity came up, and that's where I've been spending some time lately. Last week, we talked about how you use Perplexity to find talent communities, which was super helpful. I thought it was interesting. Hopefully you found it interesting. Today, I'm speaking to my employer brand friends and the sourcers who are employer brand friendly to say, well, what do you do with that information? How do you start to leverage these tools to really build the content that helps people understand why they should engage with you? That's what we're going to talk about today. As always, if this is useful, you got to subscribe. You got to let people know. Either subscribe on YouTube or subscribe on the newsletter. There'll be a link in the show notes or the description or whatever it is you're looking at. If you're listening to this as an audio, stop. Go get the video. It's in the newsletter I send you. Come on. I only do the audio because it's easy to distribute, but for real, for this one especially, we're going to do a screen grab. I'm going to do a screen recording of how I'm going to use Perplexity. And hopefully I won't screw it up like I did last week. And I shouldn't, because I'm just sticking to one tab, which is going to be easy. Anyway, this is all brought to you by Employer Brand Labs. That's the company I run. I'm here to help companies that are under 2,000 people embrace employer branding and at a price point they can absolutely afford. Think budget neutral. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, if that's interesting, go ahead and check out employerbrandlabs.com. And if employer brands is your thing, if it's your jam, if it is your bag, check out www.eb-af. That's right, employerbrandaf.com to see the world's largest repository of employer brand content education materials, almost all of which is free. Okay, let's get into it. So we have here last week's I won't say homework. Homework sounds wrong. This is last week's response. We asked it, hey, identify 10 high signal communities where civil engineers actively hang out to discuss stuff. And this is what it came up with. And it came up with a bunch of stuff, Discord, a bunch of meetups, a bunch of stuff. But we're going to focus on Reddit. Now, I don't feel like I should have to explain how valuable Reddit is. But if you don't know, you should know, you should be on it, if for no other reason that you should occasionally take a look at /recruiting hell. And yeah, it's rough, but they got some points to make. And I know no one side is right, but it's nice to hear from their point of view how sometimes some of the stuff that we do makes them absolutely crazy. And like I said, they have some valid points. But anyway, there's communities for everything. I am a big coffee fan. Perhaps you know that about me. I have a hand espresso maker. It's a rock hand espresso maker. It's not a machine where you press the buttons. You actually have to press it, and it's pain. I love it, but it's persnickety, man. It is persnickety. And so I am thrilled to be on the rock Reddit thread to kind of look at how other people are doing things and what they're buying and what they're using. It's super useful stuff. Anyway, so if you're looking for someone who is really smart in their community, who really gets what they're doing, you're not talking about an entry-level person. You're talking about someone with a little bit of experience, someone who embraces their work, who's always kind of learning, who's always kind of growing. Man, Reddit is the place to be. But let's pretend we're back to last week where we're talking about our civil engineering exam. Hey, Jim, how you doing? What do you do? I mean, chances are, if you're a recruiter, you're an employer brander, how much civil engineering do you really know? I mean, really? No. I mean, really? Like, let's be fair. None of us got into employer branding or recruiting because we like math, right? Basic arithmetic, that's where we draw the line. That's good enough, right? Little plane geometry, little coordinate action. We're good. Done. Next. 6th grade. That's fine. We're good. Talking to engineers and all the stuff they have to think about and do, it's really hard to kind of hang, as it were. How do we do this? So what we're going to do is we're going to use Perplexity. That's right, Perplexity, because we're doing Perplexity stuff as of late. We're going to use Perplexity to figure out how to generate content. Now, put yourself in employer brander shoes in this situation. Okay, you've been hanging around these civil engineers and these civil engineers recruiters for long enough. You have a couple of good stories you can probably tell. Everybody does, right? You're absorbing these stories by osmosis. And then what happens? I mean, how many stories can you really have? I mean, you're an employer brander, for goodness sake. You're not a civil engineer. You don't understand the difference between aggregate and materials. Or you're not here for material science. You're not here to understand the grade of the road and how it applies to drainage and berms. And these are all civil engineering words. I don't understand what they mean. Most of which I got from a 3-month stint as a contractor at an aggregates company. That's all I know about civil engineering. And that's only because I'm weird. Anyway, what do? You need to build a perpetual storyline, a perpetual machine that generates content. And unless you've decided to go grab waste a couple of years and go get yourself a civil engineering degree to bring it back to being an employer brander, which I'm not saying getting a civil engineering degree is a waste. It would not be, but it would be a waste for being an employer brander. What are you going to do? That's where Perplexity is. So what we're going to say is here, what we're going to do is this. I can't type. An civil engineering recruiter. Our company focuses, maybe focus is the wrong word. How about this? We're going to put our brand, kind of a summation of what makes us different right here, our differentiated value. Our company believes that stability and not immediately reacting to fads is the basis of our success. It allows us to think more long term. Obviously, your brand will vary. And I'm just making something up here. So, based on that, look at, and we noticed we saw the civil engineering, the subreddit r/civil engineering. It's engineering. Oh Lord. Many of you are looking and laughing. I don't care. It's typing. Typing is not what I'm here for. And spell subreddit correctly. And identify let's call it the 10 most popular stories. Then suggest story ideas I could post about for each Reddit story that reflects my company's brand. Okay. Really simple. Hey, we're trying to do this to help recruit civil engineers. Our company stands for this. We're all about this. Go out to this subreddit that is very, very big and very popular. Go grab the 5 or 10 most popular stories, meaning the stories that civil engineers are talking about. Pull it back, identify a story we could talk about that reflects that brand, that shows off our brand, and draft it out. Let's see what happens. When someone asks you why employer branding is so necessary, tell them this. Employer branding makes every single recruiter you have your best recruiter. It means that the work of every individual compounds. So there's no star on the team anymore. Everybody is resourced and trained and supported so that they can all be your best recruiter. Sound interesting? Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be too complicated. You can have an employer brand that makes all your recruiters more effective for, well, a lot less than you think and a lot faster than you think. If you'd like to learn more, check out Employer Brand Labs and me. I'm James Ellis. Would love to tell you more about how employer branding can help make all of your recruiters stars. Now, Perplexity can take a little bit of time, but it's fun to watch it kind of do what it does. It's looking at a bunch of stuff. Oh, real fast. Luckily, I told it where to go, so that helps. So here are the 10 most popular recent stories on that thread. Job market insights, advice for new engineers, landmark projects and their challenges. Okay. So it gives us a story And by the way, I love it. It tags it. Hey, this is a link so you can go read the story. If you want to go read that thread. The story is, hey, Redditors share about entry-level civil drafting, inspection, and EIT openings, highlighting areas with job growth and career paths. Okay, not useful, maybe not. Advice for new engineers, maybe. Users frequently seek mentoring and advice for graduates on skills, first jobs, and expectations in civil engineering. That might be useful. I know that internships are a thing in civil engineering, and so you might want to say, okay, this is a regular place to be offering up advice about how to get, as a new graduate or soon to be graduate, what you should be doing, what you should be looking for. Frankly, it's not so much a place for you to say, our company is great, you should apply here. There's plenty of room for that. Trust me, no one doesn't know. Anybody who's looking for a civil engineering internship doesn't know you are offering one. What you should be offering at this stage is advice. This is what to look for. This is what you should be interested in. This is what you should expect. These are the questions you should be asking. Be on the side of the candidate. Help them understand they've never done this before. You are an expert. So offer your expertise on what it takes to kind of stand out, to what they should be looking for, what they should want, what their expectations should realistically be. That might be an interesting series of stories. You could do a couple weeks worth of that. Great. Okay, landmark projects and their challenges. Posts often feature large infrastructure projects like bridges, dams, airports, and tunnels, drawing lessons on their execution. Ooh, interesting, drawing lessons. So the story is share a story about how your company learned from historic projects emphasizing time-tested models. Okay, I think we probably would have done that normally, so there's nothing surprising here. Industry trends. Stories trends. So share how your company's stability has protected salaries and benefits. Interesting thought. It's showing how you can tie to it. What's nice is you can even kind of click and say, okay, what was the original story? You could quote it. You can even kind of frame your post, your content as saying, hey, I've noticed a lot of conversation on the civil engineering thread, Reddit thread, that this is happening and this is happening. It shows that you can hang. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. What I want to say is what's really interesting here is that if you kind of play around with this, and if you had more than, say, 20 seconds, and I know as recruiters, employer branders, you may not, but if you had 20 seconds, you might go over to ChatGPT and take that prompt and say, hey, ChatGPT, can you write this so that it is identifying more of the unusual stories or getting more specific? If you say, hey, James, this is really nice, but this is a quick search away, I didn't need to watch a whole video for this. That's fine. That's fine. For some, areas, for some industries, this is useful. For some, you need to go deeper. Then go deeper. Ask ChatGPT to write a deeper prompt, copy that prompt and dump it in. What I want to make crystal clear is that you should save your final prompt because you should be doing this every Monday morning. As an employer brander on the recruiting team or near the recruiting team, you should do this every Monday morning, carve out half an hour, and then use this ideas to say, okay, I'm going to write 2 or 3 LinkedIn posts. Maybe I'll share them with the corporate social media. Maybe I'll share them with hiring managers. Maybe I'll share them with recruiters. You want to build a model so that you are posting content on LinkedIn on a regular basis. You are feeding and building each recruiter's and hiring manager's individual audience and network. Engineers and recruiters very often too busy to write much. Trust me, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. It's recruiters who write some of the worst posts sometimes. And I'm not even talking about the we're hiring ones. That's a whole separate thing. They're just kind of posting stuff because someone said they had to. They don't have time to write something down. They can look to you and say, what should I talk about? That is the big challenge, right? You get that blank sheet of paper and you're like, what do I do? How do I fill the blank sheet of paper? This is how you fill the blank sheet of paper. Then you can say, okay, I really like the engineering failures and lessons learned. Here, I will quote it. Can you come up? Typing is hard. Can you come up with 5, not unique, specific stories we could tell that reflect the conversation in that thread? Okay. Make the final output LinkedIn ready. Now, I'm not saying it's going to write the best stuff because I don't really think about Perplexity as a good writer, but let's see what it says. It's going to go back. It's going to look at the content. It's looking to look at that civil engineering thread. It's going to see the comments. It's going to see the stuff. Say, okay, here's some stories. Visitor center collapse. Whoa. So there's the story. Say on a rural construction project, poor geotechnical data. Okay. Interesting. Now the question is, demonstrates how a commitment to stability and long-term thinking is the best defense against repeating engineering's most costly lessons. This is a series. Now you might say, dude, when I do a week of failures, I'm going to get fired if I say that stuff. Okay, I get that. But if you copy all these things and stick it in a doc and parcel them out one a month, congratulations, you've got content for 5 months. And you do this for a couple of these ideas. Go back to that original list. Oh, I like the sustainable, resilient design. That sounds like us. That sounds like what we do. Go and do it. You might want to say, instead of just saying this is our brand, you could say this is our brand and then give them the URL of your career site. If your career site's built up enough that the brand is pretty clear. If you've got a brand document, you can upload it and say, this is how we talk about it. Point them to your corporate homepage and say, this is who we are, and read this to see if you can find stories we might talk about. You're just connecting these dots. The goal is to be so incredibly specific is that credibility is obvious. That's the game here. It's not that you know how to use LinkedIn. Every idiot knows how to use LinkedIn. Trust me, we're all subscribed to many of them. But how do you be specific to say, look, this is for civil engineers, for experienced civil engineers thinking about civil engineering stuff? And then you might even notice that your content can get reposted back to the civil engineering thread. You can use some of these things and use them as comments or replies inside that civil thread, inside those subreddits, to talk about your company and kind of show yourself up. Don't be obvious about it, but this is how you generate super, super specific content without having to get a civil engineering degree. Now, if you were absolutely nuts, and some of you, I know absolutely are, you might take this to another tool called string.com and say, build an agent that every Monday morning runs through these prompts. Once you got this on Perplexity all nailed, have it say strings, Monday at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is, run this prompt, write it out, and then email the responses to me on my email, or have it make a thread, or have it make a Slack. Have it post for Slack, because you can post this content inside of Slack to kind of generate awareness, to get people to share it. You know, your company is different. Everybody's a little different. How you get other people to share that content is going to be up to you. But you can start to make an agent that schedules that. And every week it's grabbing the last most popular posts, makes the content for you. You look at it, you can tweak it, you can rewrite it, you can, however you want to do it, you can insert your brand mentions as you think is appropriate, and then copy it and paste it straight into LinkedIn, or copy it and hand it to a recruiter to paste on LinkedIn, or copy it and hand it to a hiring manager to post on LinkedIn and have all their team, like it and comment and share on it. That is how you build systems in AI. And I'm going to tell you right now, Perplexity, $20 a month. Strings, it comes with 4 million credits. So you can do this pretty easily for free. It will charge you more if you want to do this on a regular basis, but this is how you think in AI. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. AI is not a skill, is not a tool. It is a skill. It is a way of approaching things. It's looking at your own work and saying, how can I leverage all these disparate pieces of information, my brand, my career site, my understanding of the industry, other people's understanding of the industry, social media, and say, okay, don't just lump them together into a pot and boil it like a gumbo. Have some intention. I want you to tell stories about stability. I want you to tell stories about innovation. I want you to tell stories about pushing back on a manager because it was the right, safe thing to do. Those are all really interesting stories. And it would take you days to put that together. It takes the AI moments. And if you don't see how valuable this kind of content can be, you're going to get left behind a little bit, because people are going to start building content. Is this slop? That is the question, though, because we all see all the slop on AI. You could make a case that it is, but I'm going to say this. I would call AI slop. I'm a civil engineer recruiter. Write some LinkedIn posts for me. That's going to be slop. If it is grabbing information that is current, that people are actively talking about right now, that is distilled such that you can kind of understand what's going on, that reflects the brand, that supports what you're trying to talk about, that your hiring managers can tweak and adjust to put out there, I'd say No, this is way more responsible use of AI to generate that kind of content than just say, make some LinkedIn posts. And trust me, we've all seen those posts. We can all see those a mile away. These are just ideas. We're not really getting into the part of creating the post. We're just trying to figure out how do we insert our brand and what our brand stands for into a larger conversation in a community that, let's be fair, you have and hold next to no standing in. How do you hang? This is how you hang. All right. If this was useful, you got to share it. You got to let people know. You got to like it. You got to subscribe it. You got to hit all the buttons and do all the stuff. If I know the coffee has kicked in clearly. If you have a challenge or a question about how to use AI like this, let me know. I am super open to these kinds of ideas. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear what your challenges are, right? I want to make sure these videos, despite not being very long, are incredibly useful to all of you. So if you've got a hack or an idea, something you do that you'd like to show off, I want to bring you on the show and let you do that too. That would be fantastic. One last thing, I'm doing a new project. It's such a mishmash of things. Let's call it paired TED Talks. So I'm bringing in a bunch of my smart, independent thinking friends. So no in-house people, no agency people, just people who are expert practitioners. And they're going to do a little TED Talk, 20 minutes tops. They're going to talk about a big idea they think is really going to set your world on fire. And I'm going to come in behind them and give a little TED Talk of my own that I think will kind of match nicely with what they're talking about. So it extends the conversation. Okay. The first one is with the one and only Rocky Howard, who, if you do not know, you should. We've already booked Mike Pendito, Brian Fink, Torrin Ellis, Tara Turk Haynes. I'm blanking on Anna Morgan. I'm blanking on lots of people who are doing in our book. So it's a LinkedIn live show. So check out my LinkedIn. Keep an eye on what's going on. Subscribe. It's going to be Tuesday mornings for the most part, pretty much for the rest of the year. We're going to see how this works. So check that out. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can make sure to check that out and to add it to your calendar. So with that, thanks so much for watching. If you've got ideas, let me know. If you like this and found it useful, you got to tell people. That's how this works. And I will see you next week.